What's going on, guys? Sherjan here, your personal mentor. Some of you know that I was in investment banking before at Morgan Stanley, and I did the analyst role, the associate role, and the vice president role at the firm, and across multiple geographies. But this video is all about how does the role change when you go from an analyst to an associate to a vice president? Like, what are the main differences? Now, obviously, you'll get paid more as you rise up in the organization, and you get a senior title, and you'll get paid more based on cash and bonuses and all those things, and you'll probably get a better business card or a better office with which is not a cubicle. Generally speaking, analysts and associates are in cubicles, and VPs onward, because they're officers, you'll get an office with a closed door. But either way, those are the things that are more from an aspect of like your financial growth. But how does the role change? Like, how do your responsibilities change as you go from analyst all the way to VP? So in this video, I want to talk about what that feels like and what's the difference there. So here we go. So I want to use the concept of the roles at a restaurant to give you an idea of what the roles in investment banking as an analyst, associate, and VP look like. So if you look at a restaurant, any restaurant you've been to, let's say you've been to a nice restaurant in New York City, you have someone who cooks the food, which is the line cook, right? This is the person who's actually taking all the ingredients and putting them in a pot or pan or whatever and making the food, making the dish. So that's the line cook. Then you have someone who is the head chef. This is the person who, basically is the mastermind behind the kitchen, right? They know all the recipes, they're directing all the line cooks, and they're making sure, the right ingredients are being put in, and they're checking all the dishes that are coming off the stove, and before they head out of the kitchen to the customer, they're making sure the quality is really top notch. And then you have the manager of the restaurant, right? Or the GM of the restaurant. This is the person who's usually kind of going back and forth between the kitchen and the restaurant floor, interacting with the customers, interacting with the parties that are in the restaurant, and making sure the entire operation is running smoothly. So those are the three roles. We have the manager of the restaurant, we have the head chef or the executive chef, and we have the line cook. So now let's bring it back to investment banking. And by the way, this can also apply to other industries like consulting and accounting, but just to give you an idea of what those three ranks differ with. So as an analyst, you're the line cook, as you can imagine. You're the person who is deep into the numbers. You know everything about the model. You're building the financial analysis, the models. You're deep into Microsoft Excel, and you're finding all the numbers that matter and laying them down into these spreadsheets and analyzing companies and analyzing models and all that stuff. So that's the Excel work for an analyst. At the same time, you're also deep into PowerPoint and Word documents, right? You're making presentation decks. You're creating all these memos, Word documents, all of this stuff, all of the grunt work. So you're basically, the front line in terms of, actually in the kitchen cooking up these projects, cooking up these deals, these models, these Word documents, these presentations. So just like in a restaurant, a line cook is, basically working with the stove and producing, amazing dishes. An analyst is producing amazing work, and they're the ones who have the most interaction with the stove or the kitchen, which is basically a computer, right? So that's the role of an analyst. Mostly an analyst will be sitting in their cubicle, and they'll be working on these things, and that's their kitchen. The cubicle is the kitchen, and that's the best way to kind of describe those two roles. Now let's move on to an associate. So an associate is similar to, like I said, a head chef, right? So associate is also in the kitchen. They're also in the cubicle. They're also involved with the cooking of the Excel models and the presentations and the Word documents and all the other things that are required for a deal. But the associate themselves is not the one that is spending most of the time at the cooktop or at the stove. They're not the ones who are actually mixing the food, mixing the ingredients. But they are directing all the line cooks, right? Every other cook that is in that kitchen who's producing and making those dishes, they are directing them, they are managing them, and they're making sure, most importantly, that everything that's coming out of that kitchen before it goes to any customer is being thoroughly checked, tasted, to ensure quality, right? So as an associate in investment banking, your job is to work with all the analysts that are underneath you, working on a project and making sure everything that's being produced is high quality. So you'll set the direction of what needs to be done. You're kind of the bridge between the manager who's outside interacting with the clients and the analyst who's, or the line cook who's in the kitchen. You're basically the bridge between both of those parties. So you'll direct these chefs, you'll direct these analysts, you'll make sure the models are accurate, you'll make sure that everything that the analyst needs in terms of resources that they need, in terms of like access to information that they need, things that they need from the client, maybe even you're providing all that stuff. And at the same time, once the analyst finishes a project, finishes a model or a deck or any sort of presentation, you are the one, as the associate or the head chef, to double check and triple check their work before it goes up to anybody senior or anybody external like a client. So that's the job of the associate, basically managing the line cooks, the analysts, and making sure everything is perfect and to that level of quality that the firm lives on. Finally, you have the VP. Now the VP, like I said, in a restaurant would be someone like a manager or a GM, the person that you would see walking around the restaurant interacting with the customers. The same way the VP is the person who's interacting with clients. So this is the first role where a lot of external interactions happen. You start meeting clients in partnership with your managing directors and other people. They'll start taking you to meetings, and you'll be the one who'll be bringing the dishes from, let's just say, the kitchen, right? The dishes that the analysts and the associates produce, so the models and the presentations and the deck, and you'll be the one who'll be presenting them to the client, right? So you're going to be the person who is speaking the numbers and the analysis that's been produced to the client and showing them the analysis and the work and all the cool stuff that's happened in the cubicle, the kitchen. So as a VP, your job is not just interacting with the client. Yes, that's your main job in terms of you're supposed to present the materials and present the advice and give the guidance, but it's all based on the stuff the analysts and the associates have done, right? So it's very important as a VP, you also need to know what happens in the kitchen. You need to know how these assumptions in these models were, baked in. You need to know why this analysis is a certain way. So it's very important for a VP to understand what the analyst and the associate has done. Similar to a manager at a restaurant, they need to know what the head chef and the line cook have done with the dish. So as a client, for example, if you call up a manager while you're sitting at a restaurant and say, hey, what's in this lasagna, or what's in this pizza, or what's in this sandwich, the manager knows, hey, here are the ingredients we use, here's our preparation method, what we do, but you're not the one who actually made it. It's probably the chef and the line cook who made it, but you need to know the whole supply chain of your product and how that was produced. So anyways, analyst produces the work, associate guides the analyst and make sure it's accurate, and the VP is the one who uses all that material, that work product, and helps provide that to the client and is basically a master of all of that, plus the customer interaction. So that's the high level overview of what that looks like. But if you want to kind of summarize it in terms of how much client interaction one gets over the other, obviously analyst gets pretty much none, the same as line cook. A line cook doesn't get any interaction with the customer in a restaurant. An associate could get maybe some interaction. Sometimes, let's just say, a head chef walks out of the kitchen and introduces themselves to a customer in a restaurant. That's the same way. Sometimes some banks or some consulting firms will take associates to meetings as well. So you'll get a little bit of client interaction, but still 90% of your work is in the cubicle working with the analyst. And on the VP side, 80 to 90% of your work is with clients, and then 10% would be actually working with the kitchen and make sure things are running smoothly. Anyways, hopefully this helps you guys in terms of understanding the three roles and how they differ. And they're still considered a junior role. VP is kind of a middle role. It's kind of junior and senior at the same time. But analyst, associate, definitely junior roles. Anyways, hopefully this helps. Let me know in the comments if that's helpful, and if there's anything else that you'd like to learn more about these three roles. Happy to make more videos on that. Thanks so much, team. I appreciate it.